What's up, gamers and collectors? DGC back with another review. Song in the Smoke Rekindled is the launch title for the PlayStation VR2 system. It's been enhanced to feature updates to the haptic triggers, giving greater feedback along with upscaled textures for the more powerful hardware. I've been playing this for the past few weeks. This is the first PlayStation VR2 game that I've really sunk my teeth into. This is a survival type game. It doesn't have any sort of base building mechanics in it, which is a shame. I think this could have greatly fleshed out the game experience more, which is a shame, and is something we'll talk about later on. I'm quite a veteran to survival type games and base building type games, having spent thousands of hours in games such as The Forest, H1Z1, DayZ, Grounded, and Rust, to name a few. I would go so far as to say those are some of my favorite gaming genres nowadays, up there with platformers and FPS games. The tutorial section in this game is long and quick at the same time. Man oh man, does it take a long time to get out of the tutorial area and just straight into the action. Now, I get this is a VR game and you gotta learn the mechanics of the game, but it is just poorly done in my opinion. It just drags out too long and you don't learn it at a proficient rate. Once you do get out of the tutorial level, you're greeted by a great art style and truly lush foliage. It even has probably some of the best visuals for hiding in grass and bushes I've ever seen in a game. I felt like most of the time playing the game though, however, I was lost and didn't know where to go, despite the game having a ghost pointing you in the next direction you should be going. I'm not sure if this was done in an effort to be NES hard, or if the game just has a poor progression system to know where or what you should be doing next. Now, this isn't an open world sandbox game like I had thought and hoped it was, to where it would make sense to figure out what you need to do by exploring around, but you are limited to quite confined spaces. So the movement in the game is a mixed bag. To go up and down, you teleport by holding the X button. Then walking is done like any other traditional game. For me, this is a big turnoff. It really does ruin the flow of gameplay constantly having to hold the X button to teleport up and down cliffs. The crafting, however, is done really well in this game, the little that is here. It's actually quite fun to make an arrow. You carve the stick, gather some feathers, sharpen up an arrowhead, then craft it all together. Making the club was probably my favorite part. Just whacking a deer is more fun than you'd think it is. The weapons do degrade rather quickly for my liking. The game has a traditional thirst and hunger meter, just like any survival game. You also need to sleep, and you can only do this at the fireplaces, which it is kind of neat to make a digital fire. The menu system works well, and the storing of items isn't bad. It does limit you, though, to what you should and shouldn't hold, and it kind of actually gives you this tense feeling of like, oh man, am I going to need this? Am I going to need that? And you don't just get this infinite amount of space like you do with other games. So I do like that feature. It is perfectly done in that sense of having a limited inventory. The story to this game isn't bad per se, just lacking anything memorable. I mean, honestly, the only thing I will likely remember from this game is the weird three-headed old lady bird thingy and how well the crafting was implemented. I don't want to spoil it if you do decide to try this game. The game has implemented a great jump scare mechanic, as random enemies will appear and try to kill you with quick and effective precision, which in VR is quite an intense rush to have happen at a moment's notice when you're least expecting it. Even if the jump scares are few and far between, I feel like the variety and quantity of enemies in this game is not great and it needs to be upscaled in the next adventure. The in-game audio is ominous at times, with crickets chirping, and you can hear things rustling around in the foliage nearby, and it gets you on edge while walking around the admittedly tight levels. Speaking of lacking, those of you with keen ears by now will have noticed the in-game audio has no ambient music. To me, this is just strange. I'm not sure if this was done in an effort to make the mood more mysterious, which is likely, but it just makes walking around the game world kind of dull. Now, it could be said that your character makes sufficient noises, building tools, eating things, roaming around through the foliage, and or creatures just making noises, but it is very minimal, and to me it just makes it kind of odd walking around with no noises. However, it's probably done to just make it more mysterious and ominous, but for me, it is kind of weird. The game is basically broken down into a standard level system where you do a remedial task and advance to the next level. Now, remember when I had mentioned we would talk about how it could be more fleshed out? I hope this game sells well. I really do, as the framework for something truly special is here. The game mechanics are on point, the visuals have a nice charm to them, and it's not just your run-of-the-mill copy and paste art design. Some true creative thought went into making the game art style. Anyone can see that. The husk of what could become a great open world survivor base building type game in VR is here. I hope that I'm not overstepping my bounds as a reviewer, but I truly hope the sequel evolves into a bigger, more grand scale of what is here. For me though, what you get here isn't bad, but it's definitely a wait till it's on sale kind of game. I really wanted more out of this title. It's worth mentioning This came out some time ago on older platforms and was tweaked slightly for the PlayStation VR2 system, mainly the triggers and the graphical enhancements from what I can tell. I also later found out that you can turn off the teleporting, but it was too little, too late. I do encourage you to try this game out for the PlayStation VR2, but only if you can get it on sale. Additionally, I'd like to thank Prep Games for supplying me with a review code. I did enjoy playing the game, and I'd like to thank them for that. I will link their website down below where you will be able to purchase this game physically as well as many other PlayStation VR2 games very shortly. And thank you for that, guys. Till next time.
Come here, you mother...